All right. It's been about 10 years, I think, since I played Five Nights at Freddy's. And it is Halloween. And there is a new movie coming out. And they do have a new haunted house at Halloween Horror Nights. I guess it's as good a time as ever to replay them. But wait a second. What's the story again? What? Something about purple guy killing children. Dream theory, I think. Locked box. Forget it. I better just look up a video and remind myself what the lore is. Let's see here. FNAF story explained. There we go. What the?
It's not the lore anymore, Dad. They want you to read the book about the Mimic. I don't know about the Mimic. Why would they change FNAF?
His name is William Afton. He's my father.
What?
Hello, everyone. I'm finally doing it. I'm doing the thing that everyone and their mother has already done. I'm going to take a stab at trying to explain the Five Nights at Freddy's story. Now, look, this idea has been milked enough. I totally agree with you. I mean, everyone and their mother has already made a video on this topic, and here I am contributing to that. But look, I haven't played Five Nights at Freddy's for like 10 years. And so there's a new movie coming out. There was a haunted house at Universal Studios that I was going to for Halloween Horror Nights. And I just wanted a quick refresher on like, okay, what's the story behind the games again? What's going on? And when I looked up videos to try to explain it, all I found were just millions upon millions of videos, just hours long, going into fan theories about what certain messages meant or what these Easter eggs could be hiding. And I couldn't find a simple video explaining like what is the basic underlying story behind the game Scott Cawthon made. I couldn't find that for whatever reason. So I'm making this video, if not for anyone else, for at least myself, to just explain like what fundamentally is going on behind the scene in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 through Custom Night, the games that Scott Cawthon made himself. After that, I have no idea. I haven't really played any of the games made by Steel Wool Studios or whatever. I just don't know what the lore is over there, and honestly, I don't frankly care all that much. What I really care about is the story that Scott tried to tell in his games, and I hope to explain that story as succinctly and as clearly as possible to you today, without going into anything about the books or the movie or fan theories or anything like that. I'm going to try my very best to tell you what the basic story is of the games using only evidence from the games themselves. And honestly, there's tons of videos by obviously Matt, Pat, or, whoever making videos showing you like all the little hidden details that can confirm everything. So I'm not going to try and be an internet sleuth and explain how we know every single thing. So if you want to know more, I would highly recommend watching either Matt Pat's videos, or I think there's a really good video made by a guy named Wendigoon. It's about like an hour and a half long or something like that. And he's such a good storyteller, and he tells you the basic story of FNAF really well. And it was honestly a big inspiration for me to make this video. So if my video does not suffice, please go and watch that video, or Matt Pat's or whoever. I think those two make some really good content. So without further ado, I hope I can explain the story to you today of the basic Five Nights at Freddy's lore between the games. And before I get started, I just want to let you know that, you probably already know this, but just for anyone that doesn't know, the games are not released in chronological order. And what I mean is that Five Nights at Freddy's 2, for instance, takes place before FNAF 1. So I think it makes the most sense to talk about the games chronologically and not by release date. Because if you try to do it by release date, you're going to be really confused because we're going to be hopping from like FNAF 1. It's going to be referencing stuff that it's already happened in FNAF 4, even though the game hasn't come out yet. So I'm going to be starting with FNAF 4, which is the first game chronologically in the series, and then continue chronologically until Ultimate Custom Night, which is the final game made by Scott Cawthon, and thankfully is also the final game in the chronological series. So don't get confused if I start talking about FNAF 4 or 2 or Sister Location before the original Five Nights at Freddy's game that came out in 2014. That's because all of those games take place before Five Nights at Freddy's 1. So with that out of the way, I want to thank you so much for being here and for supporting my content. I really appreciate you. And I hope, really do hope that this video can clear up some basic questions you might have about what in the world is going on when you're playing these Five Nights at Freddy's games. What's the story? Because the games do not explicitly tell you. So without further ado, thank you so much, and let's get right into it. So the series starts with not FNAF 1, not FNAF 2, not FNAF 3, but FNAF 4. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is the first game in the chronological series. I don't know why, but that's just when it is. So the story begins in the year 1983 when two friends, Henry Emily and William Afton, open up a children's pizzeria. This restaurant goes by the name of Fredbear's Family Diner, and it features two animatronic characters. These characters are like Chuck E. Cheese, animatronics. Fredbear is one of them, and the other one is Spring Bonnie. Now, Henry took care of the business side of the restaurant, whereas William was in charge of designing these animatronics and maintaining these mascots. Now, what really set the restaurant apart from its competitors was the fact that, unlike normal like Chuck E. Cheese animatronics, these Fredbear animatronics were also wearable suits that the employees could walk around the restaurant in and greet guests with. Now, a likely inspiration for this restaurant were the owner's own children. So Henry had a daughter named Charlie, and William had two sons and a daughter. His eldest son was named Michael, and then his younger son, we actually don't know his name. They don't ever tell us. He's referred to as the crying child. Some people call him Evan, but just to keep things clear for everyone, I'm going to refer to him as the crying child. And then William's daughter is named as Elizabeth. So Michael, the eldest Afton son, is very mean to his younger crying child brother. For whatever reason, he just hates him. He would often terrorize him by donning one of the masks of the animatronics and jump out from furniture in the house, scaring his younger brother. Apparently, his younger brother, the crying child, had a deathly fear of his father's animatronics for whatever reason. And for whatever reason, they decide that even though the crying child has an immense fear of these animatronics made by his father, they are going to have a birthday party for the crying child at Fredbear Family's Diner. I don't see why the heck they would do that, knowing that this child is so scared of these animatronics. It's like, sure, have a birthday party for him at Fredbear's Family Diner. Like, why not? Doesn't make much sense to me, but that's what happens. And so at this birthday party, Michael, the older brother, decides to give his younger brother a real good scare. And so at this birthday party, he gets his friends to like gang up on this younger brother of his, and they all are wearing masks of animatronics, and they pick up the younger brother, and the younger brother starts like crying and squirming, trying to get out of their hands, but they're holding him pretty tight, and there's a lot of them, and there's just one younger kid, so we can't, outpower them. They bring the younger brother up to the Fredbear animatronic, which is on stage performing. So Michael puts his younger brother's head into the mouth of the Fredbear animatronic, and they're just holding him there while he's crying and squirming. All of a sudden, the animatronic's jaws slam shut on the crying child's head. Everyone goes deadly silent, and then the child is taken to the hospital and is bedridden. This is where the gameplay of Five Nights at Freddy's 4 actually takes place. You play as the bedridden younger crying child who cannot sleep because of his fear of his father's animatronics. Now, evidence of this can be found in the game when you look at the bed behind you. You can sometimes see an IV, you can sometimes see a medicine bottle, or even a flower vase. When you're playing the game, there's obviously night 1, night 2, night 3, night 4, night 5. You all know how the game works, right? And between each night, you are playing these mini games where you are controlling the crying child. And these mini games are all showing you days leading up to his birthday party in which he got bit and injured. And while you're playing these mini games, you are like controlling the crying child and you're running around the house, going to the pizzeria, whatever. Throughout the house, you can see these various Fredbear plushes that are like strewn about. These Fredbear plushes have moving eyeballs that seem to track you as you move throughout the house. And it's almost like someone is watching you. Now, this seems to me and to everyone else to be the creation of the father, William Afton, probably this putting in cameras and these Fredbear plushes to keep track of his children while he's at work. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? This guy is making these animatronics for Fredbear's Family Diner. It makes perfect sense for him to be able to modify a plushie to have a camera inside of it to keep track of his children while he's at work. At the end of the game, the crying child eventually dies, and the FNAF 4 end screen shows a Fredbear plush next to the crying child, looking at him saying, "You're broken, I will put you back together." It seems to imply that William Afton is controlling these plushies, or at least monitoring the home through them, and that he is talking to his son who's now dead, and he's going to try and put him back together again. Now, this is very important because it seems to be his motivation for his actions later on in the game series. Okay, that's FNAF 4. One game done, on to the next one. Now, I'm going to get probably a little bit of flack for this next game because we can't agree on something as simple as what game comes where in the storyline for whatever reason. We just don't get enough detail in the games to even decide that much. But in my humble opinion, I think Five Nights at Freddy's sister location comes next in the chronological storyline. When you first start the game, a cutscene plays where a man is talking to someone else, and this guy is asking him about
certain design choices that were made for these robots that we don't fully understand.
And then the man responds to the questioner saying,
"She can dance. She can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests. She can even dispense ice cream."
Okay, so from this cutscene, we've already learned a lot of things. One, these animatronics at this new location are very different from the ones at Fredbear's. They can do a lot more than just perform and act as a suit. But that's not all that we learn.
With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
We now know that William Afton is the guy making these animatronics. This game confirms that fact. We also know that these animatronics are very different from their predecessors at Fredbear's because they can do things like blow up balloons, take song requests, whatever. We also know that there are some questionable design choices that William Afton implemented in designing these animatronics. Okay, what are those? As you play the game, you hear one of the main new animatronics, Circus Baby, talk to you throughout the game. And she says things like,
"I would always count the children. I'm not sure why. I was always acutely aware of how many there were in the room with me."
Okay, so apparently this animatronic, Circus Baby, is programmed to count the number of children that's in the room with it. Why? Well, Circus Baby answers, and she tells us,
"There were 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Something happened when there was 1. A little girl, standing by herself. I was no longer myself, and I stopped singing. My stomach opened, and there was ice cream. I couldn't move, at least, not until she stepped closer. There was screaming for a moment, but only for a moment.
Okay, so what does all this mean? We know now that this animatronic can count the number of children in the room, and when it counts only one of them, it will seemingly draw the child in with an ice cream, and then once the child gets close enough, this animatronic, which is now in this ulterior state, will extend a claw from its abdomen, snatch the child, and bring it inside the animatronic itself, killing the child in the process. We see this whole thing play out in Circus Baby's minigame, and we just are left with the question, why? Why would someone program animatronics to snatch up and kill children? I mean, that's just so bizarre. We don't really know at this point. All we know is that William Afton, the designer of these animatronics, has lost his youngest son, crying child, to Fredbear after Michael, the older brother, played this horrible prank on the brother and ended up accidentally killing his younger brother. Okay, so maybe William Afton is sent over the edge after his son died and is taking his anger out on these other kids. We don't really know. But what we do know is that William knows now that, one, his animatronics are dangerous to begin with, but now with these new programmable animatronics that are designed to snatch children up, he really doesn't want his kids getting close to them. But we see throughout the game Elizabeth, William's daughter, asking him to play with Circus Baby. She really likes Circus Baby. She wants to play with her really bad. But over and over, William is like, no, you cannot play with her. Do not get near her. And why is that? Because he knows how dangerous this animatronic is. However, unfortunately, as we saw from the Circus Baby minigame earlier, there was a little girl that was left alone with the animatronic and was killed by the animatronic. And we know that this little girl is Elizabeth. We see Circus Baby's eyes color change from blue to green. Elizabeth is now dead, and William has now lost both his daughter Elizabeth and his youngest son, crying child, to his own animatronic creations. We also know from this game that William is monitoring his house not only via these plushies that he has with cameras, but we see an entire map of the house from FNAF 4 in the game, which also is further evidence showing that William is one designing the animatronics. He's the one that is monitoring his home, and that he is moving between these two locations. Okay, and even with all these precautions of him monitoring his home, his children, two of them have now died to these animatronics. Okay, he's not doing very good at protecting his own kids. It's pretty sad, actually. Okay, so that's all happened, and meanwhile, you as the player are playing the game, and at the end of the game, you are brought to this room called the scooping room, which houses something called the scooper. Okay, what is this thing? This scooper is used to remove the endoskeleton from animatronics, and at the end of the game, Circus Baby tricks you into hiding into this the scooper room with the scooper. And you find out that at the end of the game, well, it wasn't actually Circus Baby, well, which I guess would be Elizabeth, right, talking to you. It was actually an amalgamation of all these Funtime animatronics that are built for this new location, that have all been scrapped, and all their endoskeletons are now put together to form this new animatronic called Innard. Hopefully that makes sense. And this animatronic Innard is using Circus Baby's voice, who is, you know, Elizabeth, to trick you to being scooped yourself. And he's doing that so that he can scoop out your skeleton or innards or whatever and put himself, this endoskeleton innard, inside of your human skin, and he can escape this pizzeria looking as like a human. We see a cutscene where he's walking out in your skin, and you, the protagonist, then proceed to throw him up into the gutter in the street. And how you as a protagonist survive all of this, I don't know. But what's important is that you, the protagonist, have been tricked by this animatronic called Innard, which is really just an amalgamation of the endoskeletons of all the other animatronics at Sister Location, to use you as a disguise to escape the pizzeria and now you vomited him up and he's in the sewers and you have somehow survived this whole incident. Okay, well, who in the heck is the protagonist? Who are you? Well, we'll get to that in just a second. Meanwhile, after all this has happened, William and Henry open up another restaurant, this one called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Okay, finally a name we all can come to agree we know of, right? This is the final original location, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The one that we all know, where the original gang, Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy are all first introduced. Okay, finally into some familiar territory, right? Well, shortly after the opening of this restaurant, children start going missing, and this eventually leads to the closing of this restaurant, and the animatronics, Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica, are all shoved into storage. Now, fast forward to the year 1987, bringing us to the next game in the story, which is Five Nights at Freddy's 2. In an attempt to rebrand the company after all the troubling events at its previous locations, William and Henry open up yet another restaurant, this one called the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And this location sports new, updated toy animatronics. You got Toy Bonnie, you've got Toy Chica, you've got Toy Freddy, you've got Mangle, and then you have the puppet. These are all new toy, kind of kid-friendlier animatronics. And these animatronics are apparently all equipped with facial recognition capabilities that are tied into a criminal database. Okay, so up to this point, there have been various pizzerias opened up by these two gentlemen. Children have died at each one. A crying child died at Fredbear's, Elizabeth died at sister location, and various children have gone missing at the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And they're like, okay, we need to do something to fix our reputation. Let's open up this new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza with these new kid-friendlier toy animatronics, and let's make them safe by tying them into a criminal database with facial recognition capabilities. All right, so all that's the setup, and meanwhile, the original Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy from Freddy Fazbear's Pizza are now put in storage room and are being used for spare parts. These are the so-called withered animatronics you see playing the game. You play in this game as Jeremy Fitzgerald. Finally, we have an idea of who the protagonist is of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Now, as for the other games, we'll get to that in a minute, but at least for FNAF 2, we know that you are playing as a security guard, Jeremy Fitzgerald. Okay, now all is well for the first couple of nights. Well, I mean, except for the fact that these animatronics are trying to kill you for some reason, but everything else apart from that is normal. But by the fourth night, you get a phone call from the phone guy, and he tells you something a little odd.
Hello. Hey there, night 4. I told you to get the hang of it. Okay, so just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on. We may end up having to close for a few days. I don't know. Just as a side note, though, try to avoid eye contact with any of the animatronics inside if you can. Someone may have tampered with their facial recognition systems. We're not sure. But the characters have been acting very unusual, almost aggressive toward the staff. They interact with the kids just fine, but when they encounter an adult, they just stare. Anyway, hang tight, it'll all pass. Good night.
On night 5, he then calls you and tells you that the building is officially under a lockdown and that no one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees.
Oh, hey, good job, night 5. Hey, keep a close eye on things tonight, okay? From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know, especially concerning any previous employees.
That's a little weird and specific, but okay. On night 6, you get a phone call from phone guy, and he asks you worriedly,
"What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. Listen, just finish your shift. It's safer than trying to leave in the middle of the night."
Okay, well, we know that the yellow suit is probably referencing one of the 2 spring lock suits that were used in FNAF 4, which is Fredbear or Spring Bonnie. Okay, who would be familiar with those suits? obviously probably William Afton or Henry Emily, as they were the original owners of the original location. William Afton at this point is presumably the person using this spring lock suit to go around and kill children. Now, we don't actually know that from the phone call, but we can infer that because William has designed these weird animatronics at such a location to seemingly trap and kill children, that he's probably also the person that is familiar enough to wear one of these old yellow suits from Fredbear's and mess with other animatronics. Which is also probably why Phone Guy's like, hey, this building is under lockdown, don't let anyone in or out, especially any former employees. Okay, so we're finally starting to put some of these pieces of the puzzle together. William, this former employee, is probably wearing this old yellow suit for some reason, and all these other animatronics are starting to go haywire. Phone Guy also tells you that you're scheduled to work the day shift the next day at a birthday party, and he tells you need to wear your uniform and make sure to stand close to the animatronics.
We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform, stay close to the animatronics, and make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay?
After beating night 6, the end screen shows the name of the protagonist you've been playing, Jeremy Fitzgerald, and it shows us the year that the game is taking place, 1987, which is of course the year of the infamous bite of 87.
Is that the bite of 87?
Which we hear about in FNAF 1.
They used to be allowed to walk around during the day too, but then there was the bite of 87.
We can probably infer that Jeremy Fitzgerald, the guy you've been playing as in FNAF 2, is the victim of this bite because, well, you're working with the animatronics the next day. You were instructed to wear your uniform and stay close to them, and we're also instructed that they are acting very aggressively towards the staff. So we can infer from all of this that you, Jeremy Fitzgerald, are the victim of the bite of 87. But there's another night still. There's a night 7 of FNAF 2. Okay, well, who are you playing as in night 7? You are playing as someone named Fritz Smith. We see that at the end of the night at the paycheck. And okay, you might be wondering, who the heck is Fritz Smith? Well, we don't really know yet. What we do know is that he was fired after one single day for tampering with animatronics and odor. Why is that important? Well, we'll find out with the next game in the series, which is, of course, Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Okay, we finally made it to FNAF 1. Kind of crazy, right? We've already gone through FNAF 4, sister location, and FNAF 2. Now we're at FNAF 1. All right, the year is 1991, and we know that because, well, I think it's 1991 because if you calculate the inflation, you see the payment that's $100.50 from FNAF 2, and if you do an inflation calculator to see what year it would be to get to $120, it's 1991. That doesn't really matter. Just take it for granted. It's the year 1991. Fazbear Entertainment opens up another restaurant. This one by the name of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. All right, yay! Finally, we're at the original location, the original game. We know what we're talking about now, right? We're in familiar territory. All right, so in the first FNAF game, as you all know already, you play as the night guard who is trying to survive his 5 nights on the job while these animatronics are trying to kill you. While you're playing the game, you can see various newspaper clippings posted on the walls of the restaurant showing missing children in the area. Oh, okay, great. So children are going missing at this location too. What's going on? Well, presumably William Afton is using the spring body suit again to lure children in the back and kill them. Okay. So we know that these animatronics are trying to kill you, the protagonist. Why? We need to know why. And it's super important and the game never tells you. But I'm going to tell you right now. So at the end of the game, we find out that your name is Mike Schmidt. Huh. Mike, huh? What other Michael do we know? Oh yeah, that's right. How about Michael Afton, the son of William Afton, the creator of Freddy Fazbear Pizza? That's right. Yeah, okay. So you are playing as Michael Afton. That's the protagonist of Five Nights at Freddy's. Like basically the entire series. You were playing as him in Sister Location, which you can see from a hand unit with the name Mike on it. And you're playing as him now in FNAF 1. And you were playing as him at the end of FNAF 2, on that night 7, the Fritz Smith character. That's Michael Afton. That's you. How do we know that? Well, what was he fired for? He was fired for tampering with animatronics and odor. At the end of Five Nights at Freddy's 1, you were fired for what? Tampering with the animatronics and odor. Okay, so we know we are Michael Afton in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. We know you were Michael Afton at the end of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And we know you were Michael Afton at Sister Location. That is like the main character of the series. It is Michael Afton, the eldest Afton son. That is super important to get clear. And I hope that you all believe me and understand that Michael is basically the main character of the series. Like, that is something that I did not know for a long time, but he's basically the guy that started all this off, right? Like, he killed his younger brother. He's the one that put the younger crying child into Fredbear's mouth at the birthday party, ending up killing him. And he is now, like, he started all this, and now his father is killing these children for whatever reason. And Michael is now going to all these different locations. Why? Well, if you beat Sister Location on a certain mode, I forget what it is, you've got to do something specific, but you get a cutscene which shows this.
Mother, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be. They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you. And I found her. I put her back together, just like you asked me to. She's free now. But something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not. I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you.
That is Michael Afton talking to his father. He says that, quote, he put her back together just like you asked me to. This is obviously referencing his sister, Elizabeth, who had died the circus baby. He had put her back together like you asked me to. Oh, like his dad asked him to, right? Just like William Afton said in FNAF 4. Remember at the end when he said to the crying child, I will put you back together. Like, hopefully it's all making sense now. Like, you are Michael Afton and you are following your father for whatever reason, trying to find him. And these animatronics are trying to kill you. Why? Because you are their killer's son. You resemble their killer. They think you are William Afton. It even says this in the cutscene at Sister Location.
They thought I was you.
Hopefully all of that makes sense so far. We've covered FNAF 4, we've covered FNAF Sister Location, we've covered FNAF 2 and FNAF 1. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the next game in the series, and that is Five Nights at Freddy's 3, which takes us to the year 2017. Michael Afton is now the security guard at Fazbear Frights. This is not a pizzeria. This is a horror attraction, like a haunted house, that's themed after the infamous Freddy Fazbear restaurants and the haunting stories of the missing children. Okay. Now, this attraction features various props from the pizzerias, trying to make it feel like our original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and it even sports its very own animatronic. Now, which animatronic did it get its hands on, you might ask? Well, apparently it's an old yellow rabbit costume. Oh wait, where have we heard about a yellow rabbit costume before? Yeah, that's right. The Fazbear Fright creators somehow got their hands on the original spring Bonnie suit from Fredbear's Family Diner. Okay, what we don't know, or what the creators of the haunted attraction didn't know, is that there's something, or should I say someone, still in the suit. They might have not even known it was a suit. It's just an animatronic. But because this was one of the suits, apparently someone is left in the suit, this person, and we come to find out that the person stuck in the suit is no one else but William Afton. Okay, so William Afton, again, we know is responsible for donning the spring Bonnie suit. He's the one familiar with it. He has designed them. and he's using them to lure children from the pizzeria into like this sort of backroom type deal and killing them for whatever reason and stuffing them to hide their bodies into animatronic suits. We see cutscenes of this happening in FNAF 3 and in the next game, but we learn that effectively William Afton is the person responsible behind all of the missing children, all of the pizzerias. Okay, so you might think, okay, well, how did he get here? Like, what's going on? Well, we see in FNAF 3 a cutscene play which shows us that the vengeful spirits that are trapped in these animatronic suits eventually take their revenge on William Afton, their killer. The spirits of the original missing children, which inhabit the Freddy animatronic, the Bonnie animatronic, Chica, and Foxy animatronics, all chase William. These ghosts chase William into the back room where he's like taking the children and killing them. And, you know, they're like walking down on him, you know, they're about to like kick his butt. And he gets all scared and he's like, oh no, like you can't do anything to me. And he like hides in his spring bunny suit to protect himself. He goes, okay, yeah, I'm in my suit now. Like, what are you little ghost children going to do to me? But because he was sweating, the spring locks of the suit engage, which transforms the suit into animatronic mode. And this causes all the various metal parts to spring back into action, and this kills anyone in the suit in the process. So William, while trying to hide from these ghost children, dies in the suit. And, well, either he dies or he doesn't, because somehow now in FNAF 3 in 2017, after bringing this suit to the haunted house, the suit starts moving around as you're playing the game. So somehow, possibly by the same magic that the children's spirits are tied to their animatronic bodies, William is now returned and controls the Spring Bonnie suit, and it's now known as Springtrap. Okay, so Springtrap, the main antagonist of FNAF 3, is William Afton stuck in the Spring Bonnie suit from Fredbear's after he died in it. Okay. Hopefully all this makes sense to you so far. We will do a quick recap at the end, but hopefully everything makes sense and it's not too complicated. Once you beat the game and you complete all the mini games, you will play a hidden mini game called The Happiest Day. This mini game depicts the spirits of William Afton's victims after he has now died in the suit, and they finally all vanish at this birthday party. And the player is rewarded with the canon ending of the game, which shows the original animatronic heads with all the lights out behind them, signifying that the souls have been released from these animatronics and put to rest. This is the good ending of the game, the real ending. Yay, congratulations. Okay, so we now know that William Afton's behind all the missing children. They took their revenge on him and he died, and now the souls in the Freddy animatronic, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, the original missing children, the first children to go missing, have now been released from their suits and are put to rest after they took their revenge. Then, if you play night 6 of the game, you will get another end screen which shows Fazbear Frights burning down, and if you brighten the image up, you can see Springtrap's face, which implies that he somehow survived the fire. And we know that he survived because in Sister Location, there's a cutscene which shows Springtrap emerge from burnt rubble. Before I move on to the last two games, I'm gonna do a quick 5-second recap of what's happened so far so we're all on the same page. First game in the series was FNAF 4, and there we saw William's son, Crying Child, die. After that, we get Sister Location. There, Elizabeth, William's daughter, dies. After that, he opened up Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Children went missing, closes down. Then there's FNAF 2. And there is the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza with toy animatronics. There we find out that Jeremy Fitzgerald is the victim of the bite of 87, and that Michael Afton comes in the next night and then gets fired. Then FNAF 1 takes place, and we see that Michael Afton is the protagonist of the series, and he is chasing his father down, trying to find him. Okay, and we also now know that the animatronics are trying to kill you because you resemble their killer, William Afton, your father. Now FNAF 3 comes around, and we know that William was killed as he tried to hide from the vengeful child spirits trying to like gang up on him. And somehow after being killed, he like comes back to life in this spring bonnie suit and is trying to hunt you down, his son, for whatever reason. And the haunted house burns down and Springtrap somehow survives that. Okay, hopefully we're all caught up. We're gonna move on to the next game in the series, Pizzeria Simulator. Okay, so this is FNAF 6, and here you again play as Michael Afton. However, unlike the other Five Nights at Freddy's games, you are not the security guard this time. Instead, you're the owner of your very own Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. How cool is that? You get to like manage it. You get to like buy your own animatronics. You get to decorate it. You get to buy mini games, arcade games. It's really cool, actually. It's a fun concept. But anyway, a lot of the lore comes from various items that the player can purchase in this game. So one of the items that the player can purchase for their restaurant is an arcade game called Midnight Motorist. In this mini game, you drive around in a retro style racing game. However, there's an Easter egg that allows you to exit the track. Once you do, the music will change and you'll be driving a different car. You drive down a singular path until there's a split in the road. And if you take a left, you arrive at a location called Junior's, controlling some sort of yellow sprite. We know that that's probably William Afton. Like, okay, he is the purple guy, sure, but we also know that he's Springtrap. He's, you know, using the Spring Bonnie suit, that's yellow. He was in the Fredbear plush, which was yellow. So we can just safely assume this is William Afton. And if you try to enter Junior's, there's a green character guarding the door that says, come on, you know you can't be here. Don't make this more difficult than it has to be. Okay, so you can't get into this restaurant. And what is Junior's? What does this have to do with the story? I don't know. No one really does, but it's in the minigame, so I thought you should know. Anyway, if you keep on playing the minigame, you arrive at a house that is very similar to the one we saw in FNAF 4, which would imply and give further evidence to the fact that you are playing as William Afton and you're going back home. Once you enter the house, you see a gray figure watching TV, and this is just like the TV and lamp that we see in Sister Location after each night. Okay, so we know for sure we're in William Afton's house, and that we're probably playing as William Afton. Who is this character watching TV? We have no idea. I'm not even going to speculate. Anyway, this character tells you to leave him alone tonight. He had a rough day, and this is probably in reference to Michael, their only living son now, and only living child. And if you continue to play the minigame, William continues to go down the hall and he tries to get inside the room, but the door is locked. And he then goes outside the house, and you can see that the window to that room is broken and there are small footsteps leading away from the house, right next to a pair of larger animal footprints. And if you try to follow them, William says he ran off to that place again. He'll be sorry when he gets back. So here's why this whole minigame explanation is important. In the game files, this game is called Later That Night. Like there's a file referencing this minigame called Later That Night. Okay, so what does that mean? If you then purchase the secret puppet arcade machine for your pizzeria, you can play a minigame, and in this minigame you play as the puppet animatronic from FNAF 2. Okay, well, your task is to not let the child with the green wristband exit the building. Okay, that's the whole premise of the minigame. After playing the minigame a few times, you will find yourself stuck in your present box as the puppet, as someone has put stuff on top of it and you can't get out. After a couple of attempts, you can then burst out of the box. And after doing this, the child outside is jumping frantically and then eventually disappears from sight. You quickly exit the building, and it's raining, and because it's raining and you're an animatronic, you start breaking down and slowing down, and you eventually find this child lying in the alley, and next to this child you see tire marks. This is probably referencing Midnight Motorist, which is probably why the game files calls or references Midnight Motorist as Later That Night, because if you combine these two mini games together, you get this inference that the puppet is designed to protect this child with a green wristband. It fails to, and somehow this child was killed, and there are tire marks next to her. This leads us into the Midnight Motorist game where it's raining and you're William Afton and you go home. Okay, you're starting to understand, right? William Afton killed this child, drove away, and went home. You can get that if you put both mini games together. Okay. Well, what child would he have killed, and what child would be under the protection of this puppet animatronic? Like, if William is the one designing the animatronics, why would he kill a child whom he designed an animatronic to protect? It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Well, we can probably infer that William did not design this animatronic. And instead, it's probably Henry that made this animatronic, or at least programmed it, to protect his own child, right? Because remember, Henry, he's the partner to William Afton, and he is seeing time and time again, oh boy, there's a lot of children going missing here. Maybe I should program an animatronic to protect my daughter in case, you know, someone tries to attack her. And, well, unfortunately, the puppet fails, and the puppet in the minigame, we see him crawl on top of the child, and then the game ends. Now, you might not know this because I haven't talked about it in this video, because I'm not going to go into all the minigames, but this is actually a different perspective of an earlier minigame that was in FNAF 2, which is called the Give Cake minigame. And if you play that one, you can see in the background there was a child outside the building, and a purple car pulls up to that child, and a purple guy gets out and then kills the child. And then immediately after that, the puppet jump scares you, ending the minigame. So we can put all of this together. Like Scott, I don't know, was laying down little Easter eggs from all the way from FNAF 2 to tell us about this night where apparently Henry's daughter, Carly, was killed by William Afton, and the puppet is now being possessed by Charlie. Okay, I know this is a lot, and I really apologize, and I'm trying my very best to explain this as simply as possible, but the puppet was designed by Henry to protect Charlie, his daughter, from William Afton. It failed, but it crawled on top of her dead body, and somehow her spirit bonded to the puppet animatronic. Okay, now, why does this matter? It matters because in FNAF 2, there's another minigame called Gifts Give Life. And in this minigame, we see the puppet, Charlie, giving gifts to 4 dead children, and animatronic heads popping up in their place. This would indicate that Charlie is somehow binding the souls of the children after Afton killed them and stuffed them into the animatronics, bonding their souls to the animatronic suits themselves, bringing them to life. So this is how the animatronics can move. Like, why can they free roam at night? It's not because they're left in a free roaming mode or something. It's because Charlie, this girl, who was possessed or was possessing the puppet animatronic, gave life to these other animatronics by binding the souls of the dead children within the animatronics to the animatronic bodies themselves. Okay, hopefully that all makes sense. I think it's super important because this all explains why the animatronics are able to like move around and why they're sentient and why they're trying to kill you. Michael. Okay, so meanwhile, as you play the game, you have the option of scrapping various animatronics that just somehow end up in your alley. Or you can throw them back into the alley where you found them. Now, why would these animatronics show up randomly in the alley of this new pizzeria? Like, what's going on? Well, we know that they're alive, right? Charlie brought them to life, but why are these children coming to this new pizzeria? What's going on? Well, that's a great question. And another question you might have is, why can't you, like, if you're managing a pizzeria, you're not the security guard, right? You're like playing the game as the manager, and you're having to like control the power. You're trying to like print out advertisements. You have to do all these tasks, right? That's the premise of this game. Well, if it's not at night and you're playing during the day as a normal manager would be like working, why can't you hear children laughing and playing like while you're working at the restaurant? Why is it so deadly silent? Well, what if I told you that this wasn't actually a pizzeria? Well, not a real one anyway. Upon beating the game, we get a cutscene.
You played right into our hands. Did you really think that this job just fell out of the sky for you? No. This was a gift for us. You gathered them all together in one place, just like he asked you to. All of those little souls in one place, just for us. A gift. Now we can do what we were created to do and be complete. I will make you proud, Daddy. Watch, listen, and be full.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name. But I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called. You have all been called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection, and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still, and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, friend. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms, the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
Henry built this pizzeria, which is really a fake pizzeria, as a trap to lure in all the leftover animatronics, including Charlie, his daughter is the puppet, and Elizabeth, which is Circus Baby or Innard now, I guess, Molten Freddy, whatever. We're not going to get into that. And Michael Afton also gets lured in there. You as a player playing as Michael Afton, obviously, and then William Afton, who is Springtrap, is lured into this building as well. And Henry, in this elaborate trap, in this elaborate scheme, burns down the entire building, releasing all the spirits that are tied to all these animatronics. All the children are set free, including his own daughter, Charlie. So that should be the end of the story, right? Like the end. Great, happy ending. William goes to hell, and all the children are set free. Well, almost. But if you're counting right, there is still a 7th game left in the series, and that game is Ultimate Custom Night. Here we get to play against all the animatronics from all the games. This time, however, we aren't playing as Michael Afton. Michael died in that fire. So who are you playing as? Well, if you play the game by only enabling the old man consequences animatronic, you get a minigame and you find out something very interesting from this minigame. If you play it and you maneuver the Fredbear sprite that you're controlling a certain way, a sound will start to play. That, my friends, is William Afton calling out to Henry and his son Michael as he is being tortured for eternity. This game, Ultimate Custom Night, is William Afton's personal hell. Okay, this video is long enough as it is, but there's one last thing I have to explain to tie the whole story together. Why is William Afton in his personal hell? Well, if you remember, Crying Child, William's youngest son, in FNAF 4 died to Fredbear. So his soul is attached to the Fredbear animatronic, and Fredbear is also known as Golden Freddy, by the way. But what we don't know, what the games do not tell us, is that there is another child that Afton killed, and his name was Cassidy, and he stuffed that child's body into the Golden Freddy Fredbear suit. So there are two souls inhibiting the Golden Freddy suit. The Crying Child who died originally to it, and then Cassidy, this other child that William Afton killed and stuffed into the Golden Freddy suit. The Crying Child was set free after the fire in Pizzeria Simulator. But for whatever reason, Cassidy, this other spirit that's trapped in the Golden Freddy suit, decided not to move on to the other side. He decided to stay within the suit and effectively hold William Afton, keeping him behind, or keeping him between life and death, and tormenting William like forever in this personal hell. And we can see this because at the end of the Ultimate Custom Night, there's a scene of Golden Freddy twitching. Ultimate Custom Night is William Afton's personal hell, orchestrated by Cassidy, this vengeful child spirit in the Golden Freddy suit who refuses to move on. And that, my friends, is the entire Five Nights at Freddy's story. Okay, and if you want a too lazy didn't read version of this, the basic story is that William Afton started up a business with Henry Emily. His youngest son was killed in a tragic accident. From there, for whatever reason, he decided to start killing children by designing animatronics that snatches children by luring them in with ice cream. Those animatronics, one of them ended up killing his daughter, Elizabeth. And after that, he started using one of the old suits that also doubled as an animatronic, the spring body suit, as a way to disguise himself and lure children away in these pizzerias into a back room, killing them, stuffing them into these animatronic suits to hide their bodies. And then Henry's daughter, Charlie, was killed by William, and she possessed the puppet animatronic, and the puppet animatronic started giving life to all the other animatronics, which were housing the dead bodies of these children, bringing them all to life. And they all want to kill you, the protagonist, Michael, because Michael is William's son and you resemble their killer. And then William dies after these vengeful spirits eventually catch up to him. And after that, he comes back to life somehow in Springtrap form. And then you were all lured into this fake pizzeria created by Henry, which was actually an elaborate trap to lure you all there and burn down the restaurant, setting all the souls free except for Cassidy, which is stuck in this Golden Freddy suit and decides to keep William Afton in his personal hell forever. There you go. Okay. Hopefully that all makes sense. I apologize if I didn't do a good job. This is my best attempt at explaining like what the basic underlying story is behind the games. But if you want another perspective or another version of this, I would look at Wendigoon's video or look at Matt Pat stuff. But hopefully I could clear up for you all the basic underlying story of the Five Nights at Freddy's games up to Custom Night, which to me is kind of the end of Five Nights at Freddy's. Anyways, these games formed a major part of my childhood, and I hope that I was able to help you all understand the story and maybe enjoy the games a little bit more. I want to thank everyone who watches my Twitch streams, who helped me kind of put all these pieces together, and for deciphering the story, because the games do not tell you what is going on. It takes a lot of work to figure out what in the world is happening, but hopefully now you know. And yeah, this is a video I want to do for a long time, and I'm so happy to have finally done it. So it's an hour long, but it's as quick as I could make it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.